Race 2 of the weekend here at Snetterton for the British GT Championship is not far from getting underway. The cars have made their way out of the pit lane, ready to form up on the grid based on the time set in the second qualifying element yesterday with the second drivers aboard, and it is going to be the Lamborghini that, as it happens, won race 1 earlier on in the day that starts from pole position this time around with Sandy Mitchell at the wheel of the car for the opening stint. There is number 90, Zach Meakin. That's the car that is going to be on pole position within GT4. A GT4, in fairness, gave us some cracking racing earlier on in the day. That car that runs in the Silver Cup and is therefore subject to a longer pit stop when we go into that pit stop window in a little while. Race 1 had the Rob Collard Lamborghini on pole position, and it led away, being chased by Alex Martin in the sister Barwell Lamborghini as the cars dived into the first corner. Richard Neary making a good start to go third, ahead of the Ian Logie-driven Mercedes fourth. Logie and Neary had a really fierce fight. In doing so, opened the door to let Giacomo Petrovelli's Aston Martin get ahead of the silver Mercedes, and on the pit stops it also jumped the Neary Mercedes, but was fractionally under the regulation pit stop time, so a stop-go penalty came to the Aston with Johnny Adam at the wheel. In the pit stops, the order between the Lamborghinis had reversed because of the pit stop compensation time slightly delaying the Collards. That put Sandy Mitchell in for Alex Martin into the lead. There was a great GT4 battle. Freddie Tomlinson, Seb Morris, Charlie Robertson all getting themselves together. Eventually, Robertson found a way past the Morris Mercedes and set off in pursuit of the Ginetta. It looked like it was not going to happen, but he was able not only to catch up, but get alongside, starting the last lap, as behind the checkered flag was waved to the winning Lamborghini. It also gave Charlie Robertson and Ravi Ramyi then a maiden GT4 class win. Sandy Mitchell and Alex Martin took the win from Ricky and Rob Collard, and another dad and lad combination for third, Richard and Sam Neary. Charlie Robertson having the first British GT victory in the car shared by Ravi Ramyi, rebuilt after a fair old accident at Spa last time out. So the grid is starting to build here. Cars completing their installation lap, coming round onto the grid. It'll be a rolling start, of course. David Addison trackside. Joe Osborne is on the grid, and so too is Bryn Lucas. And we'll go to Bryn first to see whether he can either talk to anybody or at least go and have some exercise and see who he can find on the way.
I think I need it, David. Let's just go for a little stroll then, because have a look around. So in position just here on the right-hand side, there's Phil Keane in Loggie's car. Phil Keane in it. Just to the left-hand side of the shot just there as well, you saw Sandy Mitchell and his teammate Alex were having a little chat there. But we're going to go a little bit further back. There's Kevin Say and Max Goetz, who's in the car right now. They had a really, really strong performance last time out at Spa. Really good to see them. But let's just go and speak to the Nearys, the father and son combo. Richard just here now. Richard, we were talking in commentary about the performance that both yourself and Sam put on in that last race there. It's not unsurprising to see you perform like that, but it's been a tough season for you so far.
Yeah, we've had a few up and downs, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, we've not quite had the rub of the green so far, but yeah, we're really pleased with that. It was a good result for both of us.
But it was the way you went about it as well. I mean, you're racing as a Silver-Am partnership, but you're racing against the Pro-Am partnerships as well, and holding your own. It goes to show how Sam's doing as well behind the wheel when he's up against people like Phil Keane and Sandy Mitchell.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we won Silver-Am and came third overall, which, you know, for us is you know, major achievement for us. It's just about trying to keep it tidy, keep it on the track, and keep clicking the laps away, isn't it?
It's no pressure on Sam, but a repeat performance would be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder now because we're one spot further back, but who knows?
And a bit of time to serve as well. Look, good luck to you. Let's go for a little bit more of a stroll, shall we? Because there are quite a lot of drivers I want to see. If you look at the BMW here, the Century BMW, you see it's got a black front end. Now, that's not a style thing. That's a new front end that was put on it after an incident on Friday. But let's jump over to John Ferguson, actually. John, how are you doing? This is a place that, and a race, in fact, race 2, that you seem to do very well at over the last couple of years. A different teammate each time. What's it been like with your brand new teammate with Max in the car?
Max has been absolutely fantastic all weekend and so helpful to me. Unfortunately, I don't think our car's just quick enough this weekend with BOP.
You were saying to me yesterday morning that Max has really, really helped you out. He's given you so many pointers. What sort of things has he been able to do, work with you in such a short space of time?
Well, he's dialing the car in more to help me rather than make himself go quicker. So it's making the car easier for me to drive. Obviously, an AM is a different way of driving a car than a Pro. And he's making the car a lot more stable for me, which has helped immensely. And to be honest, I think I probably drove the best race I've driven this season in the first race today.
Well, you talk about BOP, it's always tricky, but the car, you know, does perform well generally when we see it out on track. It's a great looking car out on track, as we know. What can you do realistically looking forward and looking backwards?
Try and go forwards and try not to go back. We don't know. Obviously we have no penalties in the pit stop. It depends how the race pans out. All sorts of things can happen in the first lap. Top 6 again is realistic. Anything over that, I guess, is a bonus.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Top 6. Good aim there. Thanks very much there, John. Look, now, I know that Joe is down there with some GT4 drivers. Let's find out who he's with. Joe?
Awesome, thank you, Bryn. So I've got none other than Zach Meek in pole position in GT4. Mega lap yesterday, obviously. We had an onboard with you in race 1. We're going to have it in race 2. All we could see was a rear end of a Ford Mustang in the corner getting smaller on the straight. How did that feel in the car? And if it was to happen again in this race, what are you going to do differently to get past them?
Well, it was definitely something frustrating. It's hard with all the differences in the cars. As the Mustang, they get all their lap time down the straights where we go around the corners. So it was kind of unlucky where we first were, but it should be a good race again. We're at the front now for this one. We're in the open air like the McLaren likes, so hopefully we can just get on and get gone.
Sounds mega. Obviously, the great pace. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being definitely, 1 being likely, if it was to happen again, would you give him a little rub to try and get past him, or how clean are we fighting this point of the championship?
Well, depends on how this race goes. We'll see, but definitely going to pressurise him as much as possible like I did in the last race. So, well, every position counts, doesn't it?
Awesome, thank you, Zach. Lovely car, this Optimum Recaro. You can actually see the carbon fibre chassis here. That is part of the tub, probably the biggest strength of the car, no pun intended. Really lets the driver feel the car, exactly what they've got. Next, we've got the Ginetta, the car that led every single lap of race 1 in GT4, unfortunately until the lap that counted, which was the last lap. Freddie, how are we doing, mate? Not to throw anyone under the bus too much, but obviously we saw that checkered flag being shown to you physically, but obviously wasn't for you because it was for the GT3 leader right on your rear bumper. What happened in that sort of last 20 seconds coming down this pit straight 2.5 hours ago?
Well, to be honest, I thought it was the checkered flag because I could see the checkered flag on the screen, so I lifted off on the straight. So obviously they gained the advantage, but to be honest, I don't know if it would have changed the result too much because he had a good run on me from the exit of the last corner. So it is what it is, and we'll just move on and fully focus for this race.
And obviously losing the position to former factory Ginetta driver Charlie Robertson, bitter or sweet?
Obviously it's a bit bitter, but I know Charlie well and we get on very well, so yeah, fair play to him and well done, and we'll try and get him back this race.
Okay, so not bittersweet, probably sweet bitter, but Mega, good job in race 1, good luck for race 2. GT4's looking spicy. Bryn, back to you, mate.
Yeah, GT3's looking spicy as well, thanks, John. I'm here with Sasha Kakad in your debut season in British GT. In fact, your entire team with you and your teammate is on your debut season, and you got your best result earlier on here today.
Yeah, we did, yeah. I mean, we thought we had decent pace here this weekend, and yeah, glad to say we managed to sort of hold position, and then obviously with Adam taking a penalty, we ended up 5th. So yeah, pleased with that.
Very nice indeed. Now you're the only Audi R8 GT3 on the grid. Does that give you an advantage, disadvantage? Can you compare yourselves in any way to any other car out there?
It actually makes it quite tricky to understand where you are or where you aren't. You know, you can go by obviously the other times of the people around you, but there's no reference car, and that can make it tricky. So we don't know when we're fast and when we're slow relative. So certainly coming into qualifying, we always think we're there or thereabouts, and then it's like, oh, yeah. So that's the hardest part.
Well, it was a great result earlier on. Hopefully more of the same here for race 2. Good luck to you. We'll keep an eye out, obviously, on what you're getting on with. But back to you now, Joe, down there in GT4.
We'll let Jay go and find somebody else to talk to, I think, first. In the meantime, let's have a look down on that grid. As you can see, cars all formed in position. I think that grid is complete. We're going to have another pit lane starter, which is the Lotus that Nathan Harrison shares with Stephen Lake. Engine change, meaning it starts from the pits. Just going back to something Sasha Kako referenced, which was the penalty for Adam. That's Johnny Adam from that first race. The car was given a stop-go of 1 second for being short on the pit stop by hundredths. The car did come into the pits to serve the stop-go, but it didn't actually stop. It kind of crawled and then went. And the team straight away said, hang on a minute, that wasn't a stop. It was a slowdown. It didn't actually stop. Peter Daly, the race director, imposing a 1 second time penalty because it didn't stop for the second, so that's got to be applied post-race. It doesn't actually affect the result, but the penalty is there just for the purposes of record. Right, we've seen GT4 McLarens. What about GT3? Bryn is stood next to one.
I am indeed in front of the Optimum one, in fact, and it's the car driven by Mark Radcliffe, and in the car right now is Tom Gamble. Now, they had a massive, massive incident, if you cast your minds back to Silverstone, and Mark Radcliffe took a fair bit of damage, broken ribs, and it affected him quite a lot psychologically as well. And I was talking to him a little bit earlier on, and he was saying just how tricky it is for him to kind of get in the car and race. He's hoping for these nerves to disappear, but at the moment there's no sign of that, and it's playing on his mind a fair bit, as you'd imagine, and he's got to get out in this car as quickly as he can and get his head right, which is much, much harder when it comes down to this sort of mental health side of things. But Tom Gamble's going to be kicking things off, and I'm sure he'll stay in that car for the maximum 32 minutes.
Brent, thank you. There is the Tom Gamble started McLaren, Mark Radcliffe to take it over. Yeah, the point made here that in GT3 terms, you've got your pro driver, your higher graded driver, your gun driver starting. The pit window is between 22 and 32 minutes in GT3. Joe Osborne, it makes sense, therefore, to keep the pro out for as long as possible.
Yeah, the strategists, the engineers will be working backwards from that 32-minute line in the sand that they cannot go past and working out the laps there. And if it's tight, like within 5 seconds, they'll roll the dice if they're anything outside the podium, because like we saw in race 1, that extra lap for the pros is slow getting away Sandy Mitchell there.
Well, yes and no. He went and then stopped. I think Sandy followed the pace car and then realised that he shouldn't have done, because you don't go when it goes, you go when the green flag is waved. So he went and he stopped. Now, I have seen people, going back a couple of years in Macau, being given a penalty for not waiting for the green flag and going when the pace car goes. So we'll see if anything comes of that. Sandy Mitchell did stop and went on the flag ultimately. Anyway, Sandy Mitchell pole position, Phil Keane with him at the front of the grid ahead of Maxi Goetz and Tom Gamble. So 3 factory drivers in the top 4 there. Sam Neary 5th, Callum McLeod 6th, 2 Mercedes drivers ahead of Ricky Collard and another factory driver for BMW, Max Hesse. New to Snetterton, British GT, the UK, the list goes on. Adam Smalley 9th on the grid, and Hugo Cook, the Northwich teenager, doing a grand job to be 10th ahead of Martin Plowman, and then Aston Martin factory driver Johnny Adam, one to watch there ahead of Josh Rowledge and Lewis Plato in the Century Motorsport BMW. Zach Meakin has pole in GT4 ahead of Jordan Albert in the Stella Motorsport Audi. Freddie Tomlinson you heard from on the grid with the Ginetta, and Will Orton lines up alongside for Forzetti Motorsport. Then Seb Morris and Jamie Day alongside. Born in GT4 here, of course, for the rest of the grid. Race 1 winner Charlie Robertson is next with Gordy Much, the Scottish driver for Mahiki Racing alongside. It's Tom Holland next, and then Matt Nicol-Jones, player manager at Academy Motorsport. He owns the team as well as drives for it. Alex Walker is next on the grid with Matt Cowley, part of last year's GT4 winning combination, next ahead of Dan Vaughan for the Toyota Gazoo Racing UK squad. Eric Evans, the other half of the last year's GT4 winning combination, is alongside ahead of Tom Wrigley and Luca Hopkinson. Then you get to Callum Davis at the rear of the grid, and then starting from the pit lane is going to be number 69, the Lotus Nathan Harrison starts, and Sandy Mitchell start procedure under investigation. A tiny little error like that could have a pretty serious consequence.
I mean, you're really good. I got to admit, I missed it, and I don't know of a penalty before. All I would say as a driver is, who's got injured? Who cares?
Well,
is there any performance?
Yeah.
A rule's a rule, but that is a rubbish rule. And just get a reprimand and say, don't do it again. And I'd be upset if something more severe came from that.
I'm trying to think who it was at Macau. It was 2 years ago in the GT race. I'm pretty sure it was Eduardo Mortara, who has won 4 or 5 times around the streets of Macau. But because he went with the pace car, he got this penalty for not waiting for the green flag. Sandy Mitchell went and stopped, but that's a... Anyway, we'll see what comes of it. It's been, oh, no further action. There you go, straight away. So you're happy now.
I'm the voice of reason.
You've never been described as that, but okay, we'll add that to the list. Here we go then. Race 2 for British GT Championship round Snetterton. 60 minutes, mandatory pit stops, obligatory driver changes, Lamborghini and Mercedes on the front of the grid. This promises, just like the first, to be a really interesting race. The pros go first in GT3. The lights are red, the lights go out, we go racing. And who makes the best start then as they thunder down towards turn 1 on board with Ricky Collard? It is going to be Sandy Mitchell on the inside, Phil Keane on the outside. Keep an eye to Maxi Goetz, the Mercedes factory driver in number 18, the blue and pink Mercedes on the inside line. He's very much a man on his toes on this first couple of corners, but Mitchell will lead. Keane second, and Goetz alongside Gamble for third.
McLeod's done a mega job there in the first of the green Mercedes. There are 3 wide, him, Neary and Max Hesser in that Ram BMW dropping down, down, down. So really aggressive from a few guys in the mid-pack there, but McLeod's the one that's paid off. Try and go around the outside, Sam Neary. That is unfortunately what's going to happen to you. Collard just easing him out smallly now on his inside. Hesser looking, Cook looking. It's tasty in the mid-pack, isn't it?
And it's the GT4, Zach Meekins McLaren leading the way. Sam Neary's Mercedes camouflaging itself on the grass yet again. He's had a pretty rough ride on this first lap. He's been hung out to dry on the outside corner after corner. Hugo Cook has gone past him most recently. 87, Johnny Adam trying to get up through the traffic as well. So Hugo Cook, 32, Sam Neary, number 8, both from the northwest of England. The Scotsman Johnny Adam is next up as they go on to Bentley Straight for the first time. So Sam Neary, the man from Formby, then chasing on behind Hugo Cook from Northwich, not far from Alton Park. But look already, Sandy Mitchell has checked out by, what, 3-4 lengths?
Yeah, amazing, considering he was only 1/10 quicker than Keeney in qualifying. That gap is being quick as we see Neary trying to recover. There's no future on the outside. That's what we're taught as kids in karting. Why? The physics dictates when you're on the outside next to another car, the inertia, the centrifugal forces you wider and wider, and that's how racing should be. We're seeing lots of this word called crowding, where you have to leave people space. I hate all that nonsense. That's how it should be. Sam Neary rolled the dice and he somehow rolled 0 twice, it seemed.
And there's your GT4 leader, Zach Meekin in the McLaren. Behind is Jordan Albert in the Audi. Good to have Jordan back into British GT racing this year because he's a very quick, underrated driver. And Mayhem behind. Those, the 2 key players out of race 1. Ravi Ramyid and Charlie Robertson's BMW is off the road with Freddie Tomlinson's Ginetta. It's Charlie Robertson at the wheel of the BM. That recovers. He's got damage on the front corner. Freddie Tomlinson's car beached on the grass.
My first hot take on it, that was Robertson's fault. Race winner, maybe 0 to 0. I would like to see another view to make sure I'm right with my first take. But it looked like Tomlinson had turned into the corner and Robertson was just too late. The speed was too high and that's why there was the contact. So unfortunately, former employee of Ginetta, Robertson, might be off the Christmas card list of the Tomlinsons. Like I said, that's my first take. I'm wrong very often, but let's see.
And Ricky Collard is under investigation, number 63. Tomlinson, I don't think is going anywhere. And I wonder whether this might neutralise the race to get that out of the way. We'll get a replay. Right, here you go, Joe.
It's in the back of the shot. It's like P6 and 7. You see it just coming in is how I saw it.
Oh.
So I think he's trying to overtake Seb Morris by the looks of it in the Mercedes and is focused on that. Potentially misses his braking point only by a couple of metres and the speed was too high as we see Tomlinson getting going. Pit entry just on his right. Is he going to take it? Doesn't look like it. Lots of fluid coming out there. That's day done for that car. That's radiators, splitter, everything. Doing a good job, Charlie Robson, staying off the racing line.
He doesn't often make mistakes like that, though. I just wonder whether there was an issue that the car had to give him the benefit of the doubt. But you're right, he came from a long way back.
Yeah, a long, long way back. I can't see exactly where, if there's any rear contact for him, but like I said, I think he's just missed his braking point. Innocent mistake. No one makes mistakes. Charlie Robson is one of those, like you said, very, very consistent. Luckily for everyone else, there's no full course yellow to mix up. I just wonder that fluid that Robson was dropping, that was turn 4 is exiting. Be interesting to see if that makes any difference to these guys coming across it.
Ricky Collard under investigation for an incident involving car 8. That's Sam Neary for running him out wide, so that's being looked at. I will defer to the voice of reason again in a moment for his thoughts on that. But Sandy Mitchell's already 3 seconds clear. We've only done 2 laps. He's absolutely storming away. Phil Keane then running in 2nd place. Maxi Goetz 3rd. And then in 4th place, Tom Gamble.
Team manager car 63 to race control, please.
Oh dear, that doesn't sound good. Peter Daly, the race director, that's the voice you've just heard. And when the team manager is summoned to race control, it's not to ask after his health, is it?
No, like I said, Sam was trying to go around the outside. It was Ricky's corner. Why was it his corner? He was in front. When you're in front, you dictate where your car wants to go. The car naturally runs wide on corner exit because you're carrying speed. How do you overtake someone? Speed. You shouldn't have to leave too much space. We've got 2 voice of reasons, mine and Peter Daly's. One of us is going to be right in their own terms. But for me, I just think Sam was trying a move. I think, actually, if you went and spoke to Sam, he goes, I tried it, it didn't work. I didn't expect it to work, would be my appraisal of the situation in a calm civilised manner.
Right, well, it'll be calm and civilised in race control, no doubt. Here in GT4, Zach Meakin, McLaren, Jordan Albert, Audi. 47 there is Will Orton, Aston Martin. Jamie Day is behind him, Aston Martin. That's your leading 4. And then 5th, Seb Morris. GT4 gave us some great racing in race 1, and there's more of the same on the cards here in the second race, is there not?
Yeah, really starting to bunch. We haven't got any of the Mustangs particularly high up. We've Matt Nicol-Jones just behind this group, behind Seb Morris, see him coming into shot there. They were the real fun cars in race 1, just purely on how they're performing their lap time, mainly in a straight line, obviously, because they're American. But the corners were favouring the others, but no one could really get past. We did have contact between these two cars, the 11 car and the 61. There was no further action taken, but did retire the 61 due to gearbox damage. Such was the hit, but they seem to be fighting just as fairly so far in race 1.
And up now comes number 29, the BMW there. That is Tom Wrigley, who gets into the side of the Mustang. Contact between the two. Thankfully, nobody else gets involved, but a big
Car
lose there.
63 has a 5-second time penalty added to their pit stop for forcing car 8 off the track. Car 63, 5 seconds added to your pit stop.
So, a time penalty given by the race director, Peter Daly, to the Collards. When I talked to Rob at lunchtime, he was really nonplussed that because of the result they got a 7-second compensation pit stop. Now there's a further 5 seconds, and not only that, but Ricky is still down in 6th place. It's not like they've made a vast amount of progress.
Strongly disagree, but yeah, that's going to probably take them outside the top 10, isn't it, after the pit stops with their success penalty and also now a driving standards penalty. Yeah, going to be difficult. Interesting one between the BMW there of Wrigley and then the Mustang as well. I thought the Mustang had left just enough space initially, but I could see Wrigley had to get up on the curb and the grass on the inside of the bomb hole, and there was still contact. So potentially the Mustang of Evans was a little bit too robust with the defence. It was hard again from that angle to see, but he did come off much worse. Everyone behind did very well to avoid it, because I did worry at one point the Toyota of Vaughan was going to just steam in the side of it. So good driving by everyone to avoid that.
Right, so you've just seen a shot of Ricky Collard, 6th on the road with this longer stop. Remember, everybody has to make a regulation pit stop. Then if you're in the top 3 in the earlier race, you carry 10 or 7 or 5 seconds worth of extra time on top of that. So he's got 7 seconds because of the second place in race 1, and now with a 5-second penalty for the incident with Neary. The Tomlinson and Robertson incident at turn 6 are going to be looked at after the race. Now let's have a look at what happened to 61 of Eric Evans here, Joe.
Yeah, I just think Wrigley's alongside enough. That's the better angle. For me, I'd say the Mustang of Evans has to give him more room than that. Good car control to save it from spinning as well from that angle. But yeah, so let's go on board with Collard. This is going to be the star instant. So we're all good here at this moment. We can see Neary just on his right. Neary leaves us space, squeezes us a bit if we're Collard, hitting alongside, gets on the brakes, going to roll into the corner, makes the apex.
Car 11 is being shown a black and white flag.
To be fair, he has a bit of a snap of oversteer as he picks the throttle up. And I actually think there's quite a lot of space to the curb and the runoff there. And it wasn't like he unwound the lock. It wasn't like he was staring at Neary, having him off, and he was in front. So I'm just going to stay with my original stance of I respectfully disagree with the decision on that one, which I think I'm allowed to do.
And I bet the Collards disagree as well, so that's going to put the emphasis now on Ricky Collard to try to fight back. This, though, is the car that doesn't just lead the race, it leads the championship and has got quite a lead. Look at this, nearly 5 seconds already. Sandy Mitchell has pulled over Phil Keane, who in turn is keeping Maxi Goetz, then Tom Gamble, then Callum McLeod, then Ricky Collard, and then Max Hesser at bay. So you've got a long, long line, but the leader is getting away. Already, we're up to the driving standards flag for track limit abuses for number 11, Alex Walker, and 12, Matt Cowley.
Yeah, together on track and together with number-wise as well, aren't they? It's mad to be able to use your track limits up within 9 minutes. That's poor planning. Yes, sometimes you make a mistake. Car's not where you thought it was going to be balance-wise, but that just means that the rest of your stint is really tough, and your teammate's stint is impossible to not have a single track limit before you attract a penalty. The teams will be warning, even if they're not those two cars, 11 and 12. The other teams will be going, right, the race director is really strict in this race, guys. You need to be making sure that we're not using our track limits up. We saw Sandy Mitchell actually get to black and white as well, didn't we, with 5 minutes remaining while in the lead of the race earlier. So it's an easy way to suddenly get a penalty.
And Bryn is telling us from the pits that Century at the moment are saying we're not sure what caused Charlie Robertson's incident, so they clearly think it might have been something mechanical. They won't know that really until they have the car for a proper look but big disappointment after the race 1 class win. Right now, there is Seb Morris, number 31 Mercedes, on the back of Jamie Day. These two are 18th and 19th overall, but running, what, 4th and 5th within that GT4 contest as they go across the line. Similar concept of cars, front engine, big, grunty machines.
Yeah, and actually quite a lot of AMG architecture on that Aston Martin. They share a bit of a partnership. I think AMG still own 5% of Aston Martin Lagonda, as well as Morris looks to the inside and didn't look like it was actually going to be a move, more of a feint, but he actually worried Day enough in front that he had to come over and cover just as they were turning in. But yeah, completely similar concepts there. The Aston Martin, the newer car, Evo, out this year, so slightly more modern, slightly more aero focused, the way GT4 is going, getting faster each year. The Mercedes is just getting to the end of its Evo life, so that will most probably have an upgrade in the next couple of years as well. But look pretty well balanced. The Audi also looks pretty well balanced with Jordan Albert in it. Different idea, it's got the big V10 behind him, but we're not seeing so many Audis, are we, as at the moment Audi changing their focus away from GT racing, where they've won everything, dominated, done such a good job, and bizarrely have kind of decided this is the time to leave and go and focus on some canoe racing.
Although, depending on who you talk to, it might be that they are having a second thought about that, because they suddenly realise just what a good market GT racing was, not just in terms of race wins and the profile, but in the number of customer teams, all of whom want to buy parts from you in the fullness of time. Meanwhile, though, Mercedes AMG versus Aston Martin here in this GT4 fight, with Seb Morris still hunting down their Jamie Day, and thought about the inside line, can't do it. So up front, Sandy Mitchell still in charge in GT3 and leading by 6.7 seconds. And bearing in mind that car's got to serve 10, he's very nearly cleared that compensation time for the pit stop.
Yeah, the compensation time shakes it up so much, but also we need to touch on these silver GT4s versus the Pro-Am. Seb Morris is in one of those Pro-Ams, so is Jordan Albert in the Audi in front of the two Astons. They serve 14 seconds less than the Silvers. Same with Gordy Much here in the 20 car. Fastest lap of the race in GT4 in race 1. Haven't seen so much of the Lotuses this weekend. They have been quick all year. A couple of reliability issues at times, but that car seems to be getting faster and faster, and it is mega to have Lotus back in British GT and to be so competitive.
Yeah, the very early days of British GT, the late Hugh Chamberlain ran Lotus Esprits. I seem to remember Martin Donnelly racing one at Silverstone. In those days, it was single driver British GT, a very different format from now. But yeah, it's good to have the brand back on the grid. Big flash of the lights on the Ginetta there of Tom Holland to try to worry the McLaren out of the way with Alex Walker at the wheel of it. And Alex is savvy enough not to fall for that trick, isn't he? Despite the fact that those are very bright lights the Ginetta has got. They're being caught also, look, by, in 25th place, the Toyota, Dan Vaughan at the wheel of it. And he's benefiting from these two holding each other up, even though he's taking that BMW of Tom Wrigley along for good company.
Yeah, the lights are really annoying on the Ginetta, aren't they? They're like pointing up. They're it's like when you're driving at night and there's some old Doris in a, normally a Honda Civic or something, isn't it? And they're blinding you. They just need to calm down there, please, Tom Holland. I wonder what was the Englishman Tom Holland supporting football-wise in the last game, because he's got a bit of an oxymoron there, hasn't he? But we'll leave that one for later. But yeah, I'm surprised Wrigley in that BMW, like you touched on, behind Vaughan in the Toyota. Now Vaughan's having to go on the flag. All going, aren't we? Got Morse code going. I'm surprised he hasn't come up, considering how high he was before he clashed with the Mustang. The pace of that BMW's been strong. They won out last time at Spa as well, Wrigley and Goff. So the car's got pace. I'm surprised it's as low down as it is currently.
Seb Morris, second track limit warning. Ricky Collard, first track limit warning. This is Zach Meakin in the GT4 pole winning McLaren, and doesn't have any pesky Mustangs to worry about in this race. It's being chased by the Audi, but a very different sort of race here, isn't it, for Meakin compared to what co-driver Jack Brown had earlier on. He comes up, crosses the line, and as they head into Riches, the margin that the McLaren has over there, Jordan Albert's Audi in second place now, is 1.7 seconds. It's not a huge gap, and bear in mind that this is a silver leading a Pro-Am. Given that this car will gain 14 seconds through the pit stops, it should come out ahead in the second part of the race, even if Tim Docker might necessarily not have the pace, some of the silvers to hang on to it. It should at least get the lead on the stops.
Yeah, exactly, and it will be an interesting stint then for Tim Docker, inheriting the lead, but with a load of fast kids chasing you down. It's going to be an interesting stint, and the Stella guys there, I'm sure, are prepping Tim on what he needs to do. Seb Morris to the inside, similar move as he tried into turn 2 a few laps. Not quite got enough pace on the brakes to get around him there. But yeah, the team need to be telling Tim, you look in your mirror once and and that's it. Otherwise, you just keep looking in the mirror, you're going to drive backwards. The mirror's the past.
Ricky Collard, second track limit warning. I'm going on about this because he's getting perilously close to problems. He's already got that time penalty on the pit stop. So bearing in mind they need points for the championship, they can ill afford to be throwing them away. And 62 Mustang has got big problems. It's slowed right down. I thought it was tar smoke initially, but I think that's something mechanical. And it's going to be the end of the race, isn't it, for number 62. Sadly, the car of Matt Nicol-Jones has got some damage on the right-hand side as well, but he's parked it, hopefully far enough off the racing line, not for that to be an issue, but something seemed to go wrong very suddenly there.
Yeah, bizarrely, it's a very similar location as where the sister car pulled off over contact earlier on, which did the gearbox, but yeah, just where the smoke was coming from, my first guess would be some kind of gearbox fault, and there is a big bump under braking into Oggies. And I've known cars when they're braking and downshifting, it locks the rears, then you ask for a gear, and it can strip all the teeth off a gear, but yeah, again, I think it is in a safe enough place where we're not going to need anything more than local yellows, probably for a couple of laps.
GT4 leaders go through, and Sandy Mitchell still 6.4 seconds up the road on Phil Keane. Maxi Gertz running in third place. There is Sandy Mitchell, the Lamborghini factory driver, and the Dextra backing on the side of the car. The Martin family business, Alex Martin, the co-driver, we've seen racing Porsches, racing Ferraris, raced for a time in the British Touring Car Championship a good few years ago. He's had a season or two away from the sport, but loving GT racing, and I think also benefiting from this double driver format because he's learning so much from Sandy Mitchell.
Yeah, it's just such an intensive weekend when you're the AM in a GT3 car. You've got the gap that you want to get down to the Pro. The Pro is going on at you about how can we better. The data engineer is doing the same. Everything is focused on you, and if you can rise to that and use it to advantage, suddenly you can improve your performances so quickly. As we go back on board the first lot of GT4 cars, we're going to cross Harrison first, Hopkinson, Davis and Evans, all in this battle pack. Be interesting to see how we can carve through it, but look at the gap back to Phil Keane.
Yeah, these 2Cs Mercedes, you've got Keane ahead of Gertz, so two-star drivers. Even though Maxi Gertz knows the Mercedes better, Phil Keane has had occasional races in them before this season, but he's showing Maxi Gertz the way. This is possibly Snetterton knowledge versus Mercedes knowledge, and it's Snetterton knowledge that pans out better at the moment. There is Phil Keane, the quick Brit, Maximilian Gertz behind, who has been a GT champion well over a decade ago in Blancpain. He's been a Spa and Nürburgring 24-hour race winner, so he's top dollar. He's a proper Mercedes factory driver, but Phil Keane keeping him at bay as now through the traffic look comes the overall race leader, Sandy Mitchell.
Yeah, very little time lost as well for Sandy. Got most of those cars on the back straight there, so he'll be super happy. But huge battle pack of 8 cars now for him to contend with. Just going back to this guy, Phil Keane, yes, he's not a Mercedes factory driver, but he was a Lamborghini factory driver. So the quality is there. And yeah, we haven't always associated him so much with a Mercedes, but he's definitely done a good job. Also, like we were talking about with the AM, Ian Loggey suddenly coming back to form as he rejoins with Phil Keane. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that is all directly down to Phil. Tom Gamble, also another McLaren factory driver, hanging on the back. McLeod slightly dropping away. Collard, Max Hesser, Smalley, which we've seen more pace a little bit from Smalley. Yes, he's leading the Silver Am, but Smalley and Balve, I think, really should be looking at overall wins. The class of both of them in a McLaren Garage 59, I think they won't be particularly happy all the way in 8th overall. Bit of bodywork getting flung to the side of the track there. Couldn't see who that was off. Phil through cleanly. I wonder if Maxi Gertz is going to be able to get this McLaren. He's looking to the outside. You can see the GT4s just saying with their body language, not today, not this corner, thank you.
And Tom Gamble behind as well in that orange-nosed McLaren is on a big mission to get through the traffic so he doesn't lose touch with Maxi Gertz. We're not that far off that GT3 pit window opening, but in this race you'll find very few early takers because they want the pro driver, the faster driver, in for as long as possible. Tom Gamble then nips up the inside, puts himself ahead there of Callum Davis with that GT4 McLaren. And as you look at the 27 McLaren, we know there are dramas for Academy Motorsport and the Ford Mustang. What we need is news, and Bryn has it.
Much, David. I just went down to Academy, spoke to Will and to the team as well, Troy, so the mechanic for Matt Nicol-Jones, and they said that he was hit in the rear and then a few corners later completely lost drive. So they don't know exactly what's caused it, is what they're saying, but that was the reason anyway that he's out of this race.
Yeah, as Joe was suggesting, thanks Bryn, earlier on, it was contact similar to what happened in the first race. Input shaft was the initial diagnosis, and it may well be something similar as here. Look, Phil Keane comes up the inside of the Toyota, goes ahead of Dan Vaughan. There's Maxi Gertz going around the outside of Tom Wrigley's BMW. Brave stuff on the outside line at Coram, and Tom Gamble is getting a little bit nearer once again in the McLaren in 4th place.
Yeah, interesting with the Mustangs, isn't it? They've obviously got a bit of an Achilles heel there, and it's if I was a rival team hearing all of this, now knowing if I need to get them out of the race, to give them a little tap on the rear and break your input shaft, so to speak. I've been told that's my problem a few times as well, but it's a strange weakness to have in a car, and maybe saying it's Multimatic can address with it. Looks like the gaps are staying pretty even, doesn't it, between Phil, Maxi Götz, Tom Gamble. They're all getting traffic, but at a similar sort of rate and losing with similar amount of time, I think.
Yeah, here comes Götz up the inside of the traffic. Busy in GT4. Tom Gamble losing out to Tom Holland, who has to turn into the corner, so nothing malicious about that. He's got to do his own race as well, and Gamble knows that the onus is on the GT3 drivers to find a way through. We've had a place change for 6th, incidentally. Max Hesser in the John Ferguson BMW has got ahead of Ricky Collard, so the Collard's race is unravelling, sadly, it seems. Time penalty, losing places, and not having the pace. Rob said to me at lunchtime, there's something in that Lamborghini. He said it's almost like it's got kangaroo petrol in it, that good old phrase, that every time you want to do anything, it sort of lolloms, it jerks. Through Coram particularly, where you've got to be patient with the throttle, suddenly it starts to be all jerky, and it's just not a comfortable ride. You're on board with it now. This is Ricky Collard with a car that they've had the problem all weekend and they just can't get to the bottom of.
Yeah, we saw it yesterday in qualifying. I commented on how bad it looks. I've never seen a car do it. I wonder what it could be. The Barwell guys will be all over it. Could be something like a subframe part of the chassis is cracked, and it's not an easy fix, and they just need to nurse it through. Rob's pace was still brilliant, by the way, in race 1, but this race is unravelling. It's when you play Monopoly at Christmas and you don't get Park Lane, you just want to throw the board on your mum's head and just walk off in disgust. As he gets down the inside of Holland, at least he doesn't lose too much time there. I wonder if we're going to see it this lap. He's not loaded as much because he is compromised by GT4, but at this point here we can see it wallowing would be how I'd use it, underdamped, oversprung potentially, but yeah, I just wonder if it's an issue that Barwell haven't been able to fix here. But I agree with Rob's comments on how it's been looking. As we look at Ricky, I wonder if the team have told him about the 5-second penalty with the contact with Neary. There was almost no positive, in my opinion, the team telling him, because he's only going to get angry and potentially overdrive. So almost he wouldn't even know until he's out of the car. So hopefully he's not doing that, because he could get the first ever hat-trick of penalties, couldn't he? Contacts, track limits, and then compensation penalty. Yeah, exactly. They could be in the pits for 4.5 days.
Whereas this car, so far, just has the 10 seconds for a race win to serve. Sandy Mitchell, who will give way to Alex Martin, and there you've got your GT4 leader behind. Zach Meakin has got away from the Audi, which in turn is about to be lapped there by Phil Keane, and behind is Maxi Götz. Now, as that gap count down 2nd to 3rd, it has 0.8 of a second now between the two 2Cs Mercedes, the Anglo-Bahraini team. Götz through the traffic. That's sort of reminiscent of all the moves he has to pull around the Nürburgring 24-hour launch live circuit, where you cannot wait for a slow car. Commit, dive, through he went. No time lost, and he comes out of the corner still chasing after Phil Keane for that 2nd place. GT3 pit window is open.
Yeah, really hot knife and butter, Maxi Götz. Like you said, that's just so much experience. And again, that's a big part of British GT for a pro. Having raced in both categories, that really makes the difference. You can tell a pro, if they've got a bit of mental capacity left, they're able to pre-plan it and decide. The ones that you really fear are the guys that are just flashing their headlights in a vain hope that a GT4 car is just going to pull into a lay-by and get out of your way, put a red carpet and help you find half a second on your rival. But that's really good work. I think Phil was just unlucky, however, the Audi looked to the inside into Hamilton corner and decided it wasn't there. Looks like the gap is safe enough for him, but I wonder if 2Cs will do what they did in race 1 and only box a car at a time to make sure they've got enough room. If that's the case, I think the Maxi Götz car will have to pit a couple of minutes before the end of the window, because the car on the road that's leading this time, Phil Keane, will get to choose when they want to pit.
And the car that is leading the race, the Lamborghini of Sandy Mitchell, is very nearly 10 seconds ahead. Why is that relevant? Because it will have to serve a further 10 seconds by way of its success time in the pits. If you win a race, and it's a sprint race like this, it's 10 seconds you serve on the pit stop. So if Sandy Mitchell can be 10 seconds ahead, that means that it's negated any penalty time, if you like, and so the car should rejoin in the lead. This, though, now becomes the interesting fight for 2nd place. The two Mercedes, and Mercedes has been the brand to have around here over the last few years, with 4 out of 5 race wins in recent history. Loggy and Keane's car, Phil Keane at the wheel, ahead of the Kevin Say Maxi Götz entry. Maxi Götz at the wheel, and the margin was down to 6/10 when they came across the line. So Maxi Götz chipping away late in the stint here.
Yeah, it's one of the few GTE cars I've not raced is the Mercedes GT3, but every time we go on board of it, it looks bizarrely easy. And I appreciate it can't be easy because there's a physical limit to the grip. So if you go too fast, you will crash, but the car seems to have such a nice safety margin of blanket that it just goes, oh, that was a bit too fast. Can you go a bit slower? And I think that's where the consistency really comes from that car. And I think that's why we see the AMs loving that car and being so fast in equal measures.
Yeah, it's plug and play, isn't it? It's user-friendly, customer-friendly, but it's being caught as a car, the Mercedes, by the McLaren of Tom Gamble, because he in 4th place, lapping a little bit quicker last time around. Here in 4th and 5th in GT4, still Jamie Day ahead of Seb Morris, Aston Martin ahead of the Mercedes AMG out of the Team Parker Racing stable. But Seb Morris will give way to Charles Dawson on the pit stops. And so the GT3 window is open, but no takers as yet. We keep making the point. The faster driver will be out for as long as possible, so you are maximising their time behind the wheel. The danger is that, of course, the GT3 teams that stop late end up crossing with some of the GT4 teams that are in, so the pit lane becomes a little bit busier. The whole reason for the 2 pit windows is to stagger that. Over the line there, 87, Johnny Adam, only in 11th place. That Aston just hasn't really come alive.
It's been asleep all year, hasn't it? Then woke up at Spa for British GT, which coincidentally was the week before Spa 24, probably the biggest race you could win in the GT3. And I think Aston ended up winning that race. There was almost like there's a strategy with what they wanted to plan this year, and it feels like that maybe they've peaked Everest and they're just on their little descent back for the rest of the year. But I talked to the guys driving the car and they love it, and it's just literally lacking a little bit of straight line performance to get them up there. But sometimes it's hard for the officials exactly to know in a first year of a car how much performance teams are hiding, because believe it or not, David, some teams and manufacturers do play some games.
No, I can't believe that for a moment. Yes, Aston Martin did win the Spa 24 Hours, although in part helped by the leading Ferrari finding the pit lane blocked when it came in to make its last pit stop, was stuck for the best part of a minute and lost the race by 43 seconds to the Aston. So it had good pace, the Aston, even if it wasn't on the same ultimate pace as the Ferrari that oh so nearly won. This car, though, is in a league of its own. Look, there's not another car in sight.
So they do have a bit of intel on Sandy Mitchell. They did have a brand new set of tyres at the start of this race, so that is worth quite a lot. I also know Tom Gamble had a new set. I don't know about the 2Cs cars, but if he did have a new set of tyres versus a scrub set from qualifying, you probably are looking at 7-8 seconds plus of benefit, and that has really worked out, because like you alluded to earlier, that gap is now over their compensation time that they will serve in the pits. And are we going to see a double Snet winner? We've seen it a few times in the past and a few times with Barwell. They seem to know how to do it round here, that's for sure.
And Barwell, of course, is a team that doesn't just race in British GT, races also in GT World Challenge Europe, both endurance and sprint. And there aren't that many teams. There are others, Garage 59 as an example, that run some of the McLarens and Optimum as well. But many of the teams just concentrate on British racing, whereas there are some teams that race internationally, and maybe that shows in the experience of the tricks learned.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also on exactly the same tyre. The Pirelli DHF tyre is used in all SRO GT3 championships across the world, so they're getting probably 3 to 4 times the mileage of teams just doing British GT, and you'll just be learning little snippets all weekend. Yes, they're different tracks, yes, different temperatures, but it all just goes into the database of knowledge, and if you've got some top guys working for you, you can use that knowledge to dominate races.
Sandy Mitchell then comes towards Coram, the overall race leader. The GT3 window is open. The GT4 pit window is now open as well. But this is a mighty Mitchell, isn't it? There's just no stopping him as he comes out of Coram. He just makes it look effortless as well, doesn't he? The rather understated Scot. Reminiscent of another famous understated Scottish racing driver of years past, Jim Clark. But Sandy Mitchell comes up, and to say that he lets his driving do the talking is a bit of a cliche, but it is equally true, because he's not the most demonstrative. He's a good character, but very, very quick racing driver, and you can see why Lamborghini like having him on the books. As through in second place goes Phil Keane, third Maxi Goetz, fourth Tom Gamble. Here's fifth, sixth and seventh, where you've got Callum McLeod in the green Mercedes, ahead of Max Hesser, ahead of Ricky Collard, then Adam Smalley's yellow-nosed McLaren, Hugo Cook ninth, and Sam Neary in 10th place. We have just about got to half distance. We've just got a few seconds to go before we nudge 30 minutes of the race.
Yeah, I just wonder, with the GT4 window open now, so many silver pairings with similar pace drivers, probably just looking at the live track of the GPS to see when they're going to get GT3 cars again, and maybe you could pit slightly earlier to elude that, as we do see day come for the box. They stopped very early in the pit lane here for Seti. They're one of the first garages. You can see the green lollipop being waved at him. He'll come in 45 degrees, stop, open the door, the driver change will go. Are they going to do tyres? Yes, they are. So cars going up in the air. Are they just going to do left side, or are the mechanics doing an axle? Normally they'll work on a side, but they're both on the left-hand side. It is the side that's used more heavily around here at Snetterton because there are more right-handers, of course. But yeah, don't see it super often just doing a side in GT racing.
Remember, these pit stops have to be 105 seconds, and that car, number 7, was outside the top 3 in the earlier race, so it's the regulation time, no compensation. 95, Callum Davis in to give way to Sai Sanjay. That's got an investigation hanging over it for contact with Luca Hopkinson's Mercedes. Here is Sandy Mitchell, another lap ticked off, and he's in. Leader is in this time.
Yeah, slightly early. I wonder if he could have squeezed another lap. I'm just trying to work out the math on there. But again, early in the pit stop. Let's see what the 2C's car's doing. Brendan Lucas found out they're following as well, so they're not risking another lap here. That they were also on new tyres, so everyone was the same there. Everyone kept this strategy the same. Put the pros and let them use it. Tom Gamble's going to box there with the Optimum Mechanic 2C's roughly halfway down the pit lane. Greystone are going to come in next to it. It's going to get busy, isn't it? In race 1, we did not see a mix of GT3 and 4s at the same time, but here we certainly are. I would not want to be in the pit lane in about 60 seconds time.
And if you're a GT4 team, you would say to your driver, come what may, just stay out, because any time you lose on the track, it's probably preferable to time lost in the pit lane, where it is very crowded indeed. 87 Aston is in, 7 Aston from GT4 is out. Number 9 McLaren, 22 BMW, all coming into the pit lane. They have to go nose first, so of course the release has to be carefully controlled. You've got to push the car back into the fast lane and then go forward, so it really does look a little bit messy. That's just the nature of the pit lane.
In some cars, the Lamborghini, for example, is an automatic, so you have to push back, then select the gear, or use the hand clutch. But that was very clean, but you see the Optimum McLaren almost pushing into it. That needs to release in front of the Ginetta.
That is Ian Loggie's Mercedes being pushed back right into the path of the Lamborghini that has to come to a dead stop, and they're going to go side by side almost up the pit lane. If you were Barwell, you'd be up the stairs to complain about that, wouldn't you?
I think it's a Stonewall penalty there for Ian Loggie's team, part of the 2Cs. You cannot push back like that into the fast lane. Yes, I've alluded it's tight, but that's a drive-through penalty at the least.
The Lamborghini had to come to a dead stop. That's an unsafe release, surely.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. The only thing I thought Loggie should do is actually back out the throttle and let Martin go past and go, I hold my hands up, that was a mistake. We all make mistakes, but everyone's in the right position. Please, can I live to fight another day? But the way he stayed in front, I think it means it is a Stonewall penalty as we see everyone else flooding out. And yeah, maybe sounds a bit bizarre to maybe say, oh, you should let him pass to try and save the penalty, but it works. Nick Tandy fired me off here in 2012 under the bridge. I was leading the race. He just turned me around. He waited for me on the pit straight, and I thought he was going to have me in the wall for a second time, and he let me have the place back, and race control completely correctly rescinded the penalty because there was no harm, no foul. And
already Barwell are talking to the race director, and car 6 under investigation, pit stop release, and this is it. That's not the fast lane. That's straight into the pit lane itself. And look, Alex Martin has to come to a dead stop.
Do you know what I think was the bigger issue? It's because both 2C cars were in at the same time, both pushing back at the same time. Loggie almost had to parallel reverse into it. Love to hear the radio, what was going on there. If Loggie just backed out the throttle here and tucked in behind, he could have avoided a penalty, I think. That was messy. And I do think that's why 2C should have boxed one car at a time like they did in race 1. I actually, not part of the drivers' union, but Ian Loggie is completely innocent at that part of pushback. The only thing he could have done different was letting off and letting Martin come past.
Having said that, even if he'd let him go, it was still an unsafe release. There's the blocking and there's the unsafe release, and the team manager of that car, not surprisingly, is being summoned to race control already. So on track, you've got Phil Keane in the lead of the race from Alex Martin, and then behind it is going to be number 18 of Kevin Say. So what we do have is the top 3 bunched up. Let's just for the moment park number 6, the silver Mercedes, in the lead of the race, because there may well be a penalty looming for that car. We'd be surprised if there weren't. But there is the notional lead battle. Kevin Say versus Alex Martin. Well, Kevin's more experienced, a GT racer and a winner in the championship already this year. so is Alex Martin, but it's going to be a really interesting fight between those two.
Yeah, and he's been brilliant, especially at Spa at the last round. He was probably my standout AM driver at Spa. But this weekend, just been a bit underbaked, I would say. I haven't seen the pace from Kevin, which surprised me because it's the furthest east track in the UK. We must be closest to Macau, right? So it should feel at home compared to all the way over in Alton Parks there on the west coast. But yeah, I think we're going to see a penalty within 5 minutes for this car.
Yeah, there's east and far east, isn't there, for Kevin Say, the man from Macau. Whoa, that's Alex Martin almost clattering into the back of the Stephen Lake Lotus. Did he hit him?
I think he did. Just misjudged the closing speed there. It'd be interesting if Kevin Say's got a run on him now, because he should have been able to read that better than Martin in the Lamborghini. Looks like he has having to defend. I don't think there'll be too much damage on the front, but it felt like he clattered him just near that sort of left front headlight there. It'd be, again, interesting to see from the outside potentially.
So remember, that Lamborghini had a 10-second extra time to serve in the pit lane. The Mercedes did not, and the net result of that is that there is a change and a drive-through penalty for number 6. Drive-through penalty for the leading Mercedes for the unsafe release. Ian Loggy gets a drive-through, so that makes the lead battle this Lamborghini, and in replay to the Lotus clip.
I think smash, not clip. And again, it's a great illustration of vision. As a driver coach, this is all we ever tell students. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's an easy job being a driver coach. All we say is vision. You look where you drive. We're a human race. We were on horses up until 150 years ago. Our brain works at 10 miles an hour. When you're doing 140 miles an hour, you need to look 14 times further than that to get the same. And Alex was staring at his bumper, and that's why his bumper rear-ended that poor Lotus, minding his own business. But no harm, no foul, as we see the GT4 leader now in driver change and tyre change. Jack Brown now taking it, and I bet he is hopeful for 23 minutes of no Ford Mustang in front of him.
Yeah, well, we're one less, aren't we? One fewer, I should say, given the demise of the Matt Nicol-Jones car. So now we're looking at, as predicted, a lead battle between Alex Martin and Kevin Say. Ian Loggy will get the message about the drive-through penalty, and will have to come in this time. Or within 3 laps, but he should come in now and get it done, give himself longer to fight back. But yes, Barwell were shouting about it, understandably, but I don't think they needed really to say it at all, because it was graphically shown, and Peter Daly, the race director, will have had a good look at it, and very quickly the decision taken. And there, shuffling in the pit, so 47, Mark Warren and Will Orton's car gains ground in the stops. There you can see Ed McDermott about to take 12 Mercedes back into the race. So GT4's order is going to be quite nicely shuffled going into the final part of the race. 22 3/4 minutes are on the clock now.
Yeah, the AM element's going to spice it up. McDermott being an AM, so is Kavi Jundu. Then we have the silver of off behind. Now Albert Pitts to hand over to another AM in Tim Docker. That car, I think, should be pretty close to the front, shouldn't it, after all the penalties work out? Seb Morris really attacking the line there well. Gordy Much coming in. Again, both of those cars, also heading over to AM. So that's why they've tried to long their pit stop. The Mustang just getting out before an unsafe release. And here's the drive-through.
This is Ian Loggy's drive-through penalty then. This is the lead car. Doesn't have to stop, just has to go up the pit lane, but that will lose him the lead to Alex Martin. Second to Kevin Say. Third now becomes Mark Radcliffe. And fourth is going to be John Ferguson. Fifth is going to be Sean Balfe. And sixth, possibly Sasha Kakad. So that's going to put Ian Loggy down, in fact, behind the Collard and Price battle. It's going to put Loggy down into 9th place.
Yeah, that's championship hurting, isn't it, for a car that's been plodding away. And now Neary again. We said about how much these two hated each other for years and years, and now they're almost lovers racing in other series together. But that's going to be a good battle to watch outside of the main battle, but still a good one. Just looking at the timing screen, seeing some really fast times, especially from Sasha Kakad in the Seoul Audi there, all the way down in 6th. But his pace is as good as the leaders, and everyone in between him is 2 or 3 seconds a lap slower. So might seeing a bit of bunching up here as the race goes on. Stella Motorsport ready to push back. Where's it going to be in relation to these two cars? Jack Brown has already caught Warren up quite a lot, hasn't he? Warren has been really quick this year, not just as an AM, just in general. But it looks like Brown has a bit of pace on him. Is he able to really send it early on these outlaps, just as people are waking up and getting going? But I think Tim Docker's going to be in the lead by 3 or 4 seconds would be my guess.
Should be out ahead of this battle pack. There's others serving the stops as well. Charles Dawson taking over 31. And I think everybody has been pretty good on the pit stop times this race, unlike the first one. That's Tim Docker rejoining up. Looked a little bit like he crossed the white line as well. But anyway, let's move on. There behind is number 20, Ian Duggan, on track. And there, 47, So that now is Mark Warren ahead of Jack Brown, but the Audi does indeed hang on to the class lead, at least for the moment.
Down the inside, Brown should be able to get this done from this position, mate. Oh, I think he was just backed out of it too early. I think he had an overlap, so Warren couldn't close the door, trying to get a cut back there. Is that the Toyota broken down very close to where the Mustangs have been breaking down all day? And that didn't look in a safe enough position to me. I think that's going to be a full course yellow at some point.
I think you're right. It looked Toyota liveried, and on the tracker, 44 is not moving. So Kavi Jundu, not been in the car for that long. The question is, why has it stopped? Here, through the traffic at the inside of Ian Duggan's Lotus, goes 47, Mark Warren. Jack Brown behind him. Mark was an absolute hero here last year in the Porsche Sprint Challenge as an AM, winning 2 races outright. Never mind his class, won the races outright. So it does look as though we're heading up towards the yellow flag zone, and that's going to preclude Jack Brown from having a go. Let's see whether we can just spot anything by the side of the track. Yes, we can. It's Toyota shaped, and that's Kavi Jundu parked by the side of the road.
Yeah, it may look like it's far enough away off the racing line, but it's just in the line of fire. If you drop a wheel potentially on the left-hand side as you turn in, that is exactly where you would go. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a full course yellow, but these guys will keep racing all the way to it. I think Jack Brown now needs to start to get this move done. Otherwise, it'll be interesting to see where Tim Docker is up in there, just going through bomb hole. But this is really, I think, the chance to win the race. I think they will catch Docker in the Audi. Look at the run that McLaren's got. Looks to the inside, Warren just covers it. I think the best chance was into turn 2. I thought that in race 1 as well when we were on board this car, when it was versus the Mustang. Let's see what he can do.
He's going to go through on the inside, but Mark Warren there, number 47, I know he's just lost a place, but bearing in mind, he's only in about his 2nd season, 3rd season at most of racing. He's never raced at this level until this year. He has been a very, very impressive AM. He's giving away quite a lot of experience. He's not a career racing driver, a very quick businessman racer. I reckon Mark Warren does a very, very good job in that car. And there is the race leader, Alex Martin, who is getting away from Kevin Say. That answers an earlier question as to who you might put your money on. Look, that margin has really stretched.
I just think Barwell have been in a league of their own this weekend with that Lamborghini. They've just looked so dominant, pole position in both races, yes, with different cars, but they've been so strong, winning early, and it just looks like they've got pace to burn, which is a feeling that is very rare as a racing driver, and it just takes so much stress out of it. Totally right with Mark Warren, being brilliant, like so good, and I think he was very fair there to Brown. It's a bit of a lunge into the last corner. Talking of lunges, I think that was Charles Dorsham pushing on Kevin Say, both in Mercedes, but not the right way. Safety car is called, and everyone slows down really quickly. Who was in front there, Dawson or Ian Duggan? I wouldn't want to call that one, but I think Duggan has conceded it. We typically go to full course yellow first. So I think that might have caught some of the drivers out getting told safety car straight away and having to look for the yellow flags at the marshal posts.
So safety car is called, and the benefit of a safety car is you can keep the cars going at a faster pace, and it might have been a full course yellow had we been in the pit window, but because we are under green flag conditions at the end of a window, it does give race control the time to be able to identify the race leader and get the safety car scrambled. It means they can go at a faster speed, and it means that you don't have to have a full course yellow followed by a safety car. The process should take a little bit less time, and that's quite important on a long lap like this. You don't want to lose too many laps. There is the safety car. Lorna Vickers, the driver, Formula Ford racer herself, heads out on track. Now then, the Speedworks Toyota has stopped. Bryn, I think, has news.
Thanks, David. I went down and spoke to the team, and they said that the car overheated. Loads and loads of alarms went off, so they just decided the best thing to do is to park the car up. They don't know what's caused the overheating, but that's in essence what's happened. So they had to park the car up. They'll have to investigate a bit later on.
Okay, thanks, Bryn. Overheating then for the Toyota. Real shame, but it's another one out of the race. It's had a tough season. There is Sandy Mitchell, who built the lead. Most of that disappeared in the pit stops. They lost the lead after that unsafe release from number 6 Mercedes. They got the lead back with the penalty. They've built the gap. But have a look at this for the restart. 1, 2, 3 cars between Alex Martin and Kevin Say. So I know I say in safety cars the gaps will come down, but there's nothing quite like having traffic between you. And Tim Docker is going to be the first one behind. That means that all your GT4 leaders are going to be bunched up. So it's going to be it's dealt Tim Docker a bad hand because the lead that car had has been eroded, but it's going to make GT4 very interesting on the restart. There's quite a lot to play for.
There's a huge amount. If Tim Docker had only been a tiny bit quicker and been in front of Martin now, as he got there, he would have been given that. Maxi Gott's looking a little forlorn, isn't he? I think yes, this has given them a chance. Phil Jose there, the #1 mechanic as well. Also kind of, I think they just haven't got the pace of the car, and Kevin Say's probably going to have to concede that. Ratcliffe behind was okay, pace-wise. Ferguson was okay. Balfe was the first guy that I thought looked quite quick. Then Sasha Kakad behind, then Rob Collard. If you'd given Rob Collard a dream, a wish, what would it have been, Rob? It would have been for a safety car towards the end of my stint, so I can try and attack all these guys in front and show my son Ricky how to really do it. But yeah, this could be potentially lively, and we got the GT4 battle still together on the right lap. Hopefully the recovery truck just drags that Toyota out the way and just puts it near the other Mustang, which I do think is in a safe enough place, and we could then potentially get 4 to 5 laps of racing to go. Look at the heat haze coming out of these cars. You really appreciate how much energy is being in these cars, having to get it all the way out. All the drivers always complain how hot they are as well. I think the Aston Martin is the only car I've ever heard drivers say the air conditioning unit is too good, we can't run it on full because we get too cold.
The Toyota has officially been retired. The phraseology termed car cannot continue due to engine issue. So the overheating confirmed. And the safety car brings the field round. All of these laps, of course, count within the hour, and Alex Martin will be the race leader behind the safety car. Everybody now plays catch-up, and they field their way out of Coram, down towards turn 12 at the end of the lap. And let's see how long it's going to be to move the Supra. So there, Alex Martin, the leader. Behind is the leading GT4 car. So 78 leads GT3, 79 leads GT4. And they are together on the road. Tim Docker at the wheel of the Audi. We don't have that many, we've never had that many Audis in GT4, but there it is leading the class. Second in GT4, number 90, Jack Brown. Third, 47, Mark Warren, who's now got 2 track limit warnings. Next in the queue will be Kevin Say, who is second overall. Then Mark Radcliffe up to third. Fourth is John Ferguson, who won here last year in the BMW. But it's a very, very jumbled order because you've got back markers peppered in and amongst them. The good thing is that all the GT4 cars are a lap down. So nobody's gained out of all of that particularly. Some have lost, I'll grant you, because the gaps have come down, but all the GT4 leading cars are on the same lap.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out where I think this is going. I think Martin is a good bet for the overall win, and then I think it is going to be Jack Brown in the Optimum McLaren he shares with Meakin. I think he's going to have the pace over Docker, and we'll get past him after probably half a lap or so. It's then what Charles Dawson can do. Was he catching Mark Warren? I think potentially, and then Ian Duggan, as he got to look behind him, he's got the number 7 Aston and Mikey Porter there as well. So yeah, it's amazing. Depends on which side of the eye you're sitting is whether the safety car is good or bad. But I think it's very good for this 63 car of Rob Collard.
Yeah, Rob Collard is well wound up, and a fired-up Rob Collard is quite a sight. For many, many years of touring car experience, Rob's got good racecraft. Came off the ovals, of course. His dad, Mick Duffy Collard, was a hot rod hero of the 70s and 80s. And Rob, one of the great overtakers in touring car racing. Not many people could overtake at Alton Park. Rob just took it in his stride and used to carve through the pack. So he knows exactly what he's doing. And on the restart, I would think he could gain a place or 2. Under investigation for its pit stop, Ian Goff, Tom Wrigley's BMW, a pit stop infringement. I'm not aware it's the time, because I've been told by TSL, the timekeeping service, that nobody was under on the pit stops. So maybe it was something to do with the release or the number of personnel working in the fast lane. We'll get to the bottom of it, but it's a pit stop infringement that's being looked at, and the team manager of that car is now being summoned to race control. The Toyota is taking a bit longer to move than we expected.
Yeah, to do a full lift, so unless it's got so hot it's seized up, we should have just dragged that out of the way and dumped it next to the Mustang in the background there. Hopefully they can just dump it down and get that recovery truck out of the way. I mean, it's already broken down. Just write it off now. I'm bored of it.
I like the concept of a very expensive GT car and you want to dump it somewhere. But anyway, I know what you mean. Yeah, just move it as quick as. It's not damaged, which is the good thing to see, as the cars then come now behind that safety car with just over 11 minutes to go. Team manager of 32 now being summoned to race control. That's Sasha Kakad's Audi. So there are a couple of more stories here lurking in the system, are there not? So I wonder what the Audi has done wrong, because we've not been told that that's being investigated for anything. But there, the red GT3 Audi, Sasha Kakad and Hugo Cook, who started it. Sasha Kakad behind the wheel now. Over the timing line it goes. So yeah, there's what's going on the track. There's also what might happen in race control to shuffle the order as well. We need to factor in before the end of this race.
Yeah, and I can't think what they did wrong. They've had a pretty clean race, there's no bodywork damage. So again, I think just with the nature of the pit lane here being so tight, it's so easy to attract a penalty.
Just looking at Charles Dawson, who seemed to be hesitating there, but he's picking up pace again coming out of turn one, although he's caused a bit of a bottleneck behind. Right, what about the Collards then? I think Bryn might have Ricky Collard to talk to.
I do indeed. And just before you came down to me, David, Ricky decided to run off and check on a 5-second penalty that you got earlier on. Before we get to that, just talk to us about your straps, because it looked like from the onboard you had to keep pulling your straps tight. Were you having an issue?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, it's not too much of an issue. The belts just naturally come a little bit loose, and probably with my massive insert that I have to be able to reach the controls.
You need to put some weight on, that's what it is. Now, what about the 5-second penalty then? Because I know you just checked with your team there. What are your thoughts on that, if you can keep it clean?
You just want to race. Like you, as soon as you get a good bit of racing, and I'm sure that everyone was enjoying it. I got pushed off onto the grass. Not a problem. I'm behind him. He's racing hard with me. We then go into the next corner, and yeah, I then get a little bit of a snap and a slide, and we then touch doors, and it's like, this is British motorsport. We're racing on tight, twisty tracks. There's going to be a little bit of contact. It's got to be entertaining, and as soon as we get something that's entertaining, it just gets shut down.
Well, look, let's try and finish on a high. We've got a safety car out right now, and the high for you is that it's bunched everything right back up again for your dad to now attack.
Yeah, he's got to do something special, because at the moment we are struggling on pace. We've got a couple of issues with the car, but you know, the car's on the limit. There's not much more in it, and yeah, we've got to hope that my dad keeps it clean, because we're touring car drivers and we want to race hard and fair, and that's what my dad always tells me to do, and that's what we try to do. And yeah, just don't want him to get any penalties now.
Well, he's got a hop to it with the kangaroo juice. Good luck to you. There you go. Back to you, David.
Bryn, thanks very much. We'll just come back to that penalty in a moment. Let me quickly tell you that 29 BMW is getting a drive-through penalty for not going quickly enough in the pit lane, slow speed in the pit lane, and 32 Audi is getting a drive-through for speeding in the pit lane. So from one extreme to the other. Ricky Collard, I think, backing up, Joe, what you said at the start. We want to see hard racing.
Yeah, I totally agree with them, and it always annoys me when I agree with people, because I want an argument all the time, but totally agree. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that sets a precedent or that was a mistake if we have it again later in the year. That's where it's hard as a driver. That's a line in the sand, and that's now the rule. Do we change the rules every weekend, or where do we go from here?
It'd be interesting as well to hear the thoughts of Sam Neary, whether he said, yeah, no, he pushed me out wide, that's not fair, or no, it's just hard racing, because, you know, Sam's a feisty racer when he needs to be. Safety car lights are still on. When those lights on the Lotus are extinguished, that's the indication that we will be racing at the end of the lap. And we're running out of time here. We've got all these things that could happen, but we're down to 7.5 minutes, give or take a few seconds, because it took longer to get that Supra out of the way. Maxi Goetz is getting ever more nervous, because Kevin Say, first of all, needs to get through the traffic. Safety car's in this lap, but I don't think Kevin Say is going to get there. By the time he's cleared the GT4 cars, Alex Martin will have built a gap.
Yeah, exactly. I just think Martin's got the pace on him. I'd actually be pretty chill if I was Maxi Goetz. We're not catching the leader, and we're not getting caught by Radcliffe in the orange McLaren behind. So I think they're second. Interesting other thing, tell from Collard was Ricky, that he'd actually got changed out of his suit. So he wasn't very optimistic, shall we say. He was going to get a podium, because you should be in your race suit. And if I'm a betting man, which I am, I'd take 4-1 on Rob Collard getting a podium from here, because Kakad in the sixth place Audi is out of the way, and then he had so much pace. I can see him be able to get past Ferguson and Radcliffe, and then it's a fair fight between him and Balfe. I hope we're going to get at least 2, if not 3 flying laps as the safety car comes in.
Right, let us see then. And if you want to put any other gambles on at Bet Joe, then they're open tomorrow morning from 9. 63 then, that is Rob Collard as he makes his way down towards the end of Bentley Straight. Safety car in this time, lights will be extinguished. You can see everybody, certainly the GT3 drivers, on their toes, weaving around, bringing the tyre temperatures up, bringing the pressures up as well, ready for the restart. There's Rob Collard.
Yeah, Neary car in the background, the splitter's gone. I could really see that slapping around. That's going to be a horrible car to drive for the last, what we're going to have probably 5.5 minutes once we go back to green. Barwell will be telling Martin in the lead, you've got GT4 cars behind you, have to back up, go, but don't overtake the safety car, and that's going to probably give him, I reckon, a 4-second lead over Kevin Say when they cross the line.
We have 2 cars being looked at for their safety car procedure to be investigated after the race. One of them is the leader, another is the second place car. Alex Martin and Kevin Say will be looked at after the race for the safety car procedure and how they dealt with a yellow flag. So the story might rumble on, but look, we go racing and Alex Martin has gone. Now remember, Kevin Say can't overtake until he gets to the timing line. They're not there yet. He's there now, and this is when he dives out from behind the Audi and tries to make some progress, but so too also does Jack Brown, and he gets the class lead to go around the outside of the traffic. That puts him into the lead of the class. So now Jack Brown leads GT4. He's trying to get the tyres warmed up again. Kevin Say has cleared 2/3 of the GT4 pack, and look in the background, Rob Collard is trying to make progress too.
Yeah, Dawson down the inside of Ian Duggan there. Ferguson fighting. You can see Collard on the back. This Audi has a drive-through, so this is frustrating. This is just lost time. Is he going to get down the inside? Is he going to run him out of road like his son did to Sam Neary? I think he was passing. We don't have to have that one. Sean Balfe next on the hit list for Rob Collard there. Look at this group of cars. Ferguson to the inside. Tim Docker wants to be anywhere but turn 4 at Snetterton in that stellar Audi. See Mikey Porter get down the inside. Rob Collard now sweeping through also. Oh, contact, but he was past Balfe. Lot of damage there for Tim Docker. That's why he didn't want to be at Snetterton.
Yeah, absolutely, but Collard picked up damage as well. That was GT3 on GT4. I'm a bit worried about the rear suspension of the Lamborghini. Let's see, coming up now through Oggies is Rob Collard. What was Ricky saying about hoping my dad kept it clean? I don't think that was Rob at fault. It was just lots of cars all going for the same bit of tarmac, and as one ran wide, he got a spin for Mark Smith. That gets him back on track. Right, this is Collard. I think the Lamborghini has survived it. You've got just 4 minutes on the clock. There is certainly time for 1, possibly 2 more laps. So Collard has made progress, but it's been a bit leery.
He's been so far. I don't know how he got past Sean Balfe. He was behind him coming to our head, but he was in front of him. We missed that. I do think he could have hung left more. You can see a lot of damage on Tim Docker. That's day done, front left, completely destroyed. And I think that was the contact with Collard. It shows you how strong that Lamborghini is to be able to take that much damage and still be going.
But equally, there are occasions where an innocuous touch does a lot more damage than you think. If you hit it at the wrong point, it can make life very difficult. There is the lead car. So there's this investigation post-race. It is Alex Martin ahead of Kevin Say, 4.7 seconds. Up into third is John Ferguson's BMW. We saw that down on the infield, going ahead of Mark Radcliffe, fourth. Fifth, Collard. Sixth, Smalley. And seventh, number 3 of Callum McLeod.
Yeah, exactly, and I still think Rob Collard's got a chance here. Ferguson's pace really good. Didn't expect him to be able to get past. Let's have a look here. So all Constantine up. So Collard sent it down the inside of Balfe. I missed that at the time. A little bit of contact, but okay. I wonder if Rob can go more left here, because he should anticipate that it's 3 wide. It wasn't his fault, but it could have helped. And another big hit with the Merc as well. That was a huge amount of contact, and it just about survived. He's now on the back of Ratcliffe, who looks like he's got damaged. One of the dive planes sitting up like an odd eyebrow, I think, on the 27 car. I think he'll be able to clear Ratcliffe maybe this lap. Then can he get Ferguson?
That penalty you can see on the graphic is for the Ian Goff, Tom Rickley BMW. So because there isn't time really in the race now to serve it, it will be given as a time penalty at the end. This is Rob Collard then, on the back of Mark Radcliffe. This is for 4th place, as there is number 6 of Ian Logie. Now, we've not really touched on that car, but that's 11th, trying to recover after its drive-through penalty. And he's on the tail now of 22 of Carl Cavers. So Ian Logie, another frustrated man with penalties heading his way over the course of the hour, still pushing on. But so is Collard on the back of Radcliffe. We know, I keep saying it, that Rob is a great overtaker. Watch this. Let's see what he can do to try and muster 4th place away from the McLaren. From oval racing to Formula 4 to the Vectra Challenge to the British Touring Car Championship to British GT Champion, Rob Collard then. And don't forget that he and Ricky and Sandy Mitchell and Leo Machitsky all teamed up to win their class in the Spa 24 Hours a good few years ago. So success has come the Collard's way in GT racing for a number of seasons, and another place beckons here. Rob Collard onto the last lap, pulls the pin and tries to make the move against the McLaren.
Yeah, I thought he was going to send it up on the inside at the last corner, but I think he got caught out by Ratcliffe having a little break into Coram. I think this is now podium done. Its best chance is to get 4th place off Ratcliffe. As we go on board, Ratcliffe looking to defend. Collard's coming, isn't he? That is a steam train. Last minute move from Ratcliffe to close the door. It was a good idea because it did slow Collard down. Now Ratcliffe has the inside. Hang him out to dry, Mark. Don't let him go around the outside. That's not allowed in motorsport anymore.
But this is Rob Collard, who can overtake anywhere. And look at that brilliant move. Well done, Rob. Fantastic. Right round the outside. And all of that, he will tell you, is from his early days on the ovals. Ricky's impressed, but on the oval circuits, you've got to overtake on the outside, sit there for lap after lap, inch your way round on a pretty grotty track surface. And that's why Rob Collard is one of the sport's great overtakers in a GT or a touring car. And he's just proved the point. Hat-tin. Well done, Rob. He's not done yet.
He's amazing, isn't he? He's like putting an angry rat in a hot tin and kicking it around and saying, what do you want to do next? Can he get John Ferguson? I think not. Ferguson's pace, I have to admit, it surprised me. He's been really quick. I think Collard's on the flashes. He's got half a lap. His last chance is into the last corner. I think Ferguson will be wise to that and will block it off. But this is amazing. A lot of damage there for Tom Holland and the Colin White.
Colin White's taken over. There's a tyre off. So there's been contact to do the tyre, then it's been turned into the barrier. It's not going to affect things in terms of a yellow because it's the last lap. There are more battles that might resolve yet, but the checkered flag is imminent because we've got 8 seconds. I was thinking the lead gap looked to be coming down, but Alex Martin here is going to be good to get to the checkered flag for a 3rd victory of the season. To come up then to take the checkered flag now. The Lamborghini is going to win, but it's a reduced margin over the Mercedes. Alex Martin and Sandy Mitchell take race honours them. 2nd across the line is Kevin Say and Maxi Goetz. And then for 3rd, John Ferguson and Max Hesser just hang on in there. It's a 4th win of the season, forgive me, for Mitchell and Martin, as the rest come storming up towards the line. So Alex Martin, Sandy Mitchell, a winning margin of 1.3 seconds. It was down markedly on that last lap, and Rob Collard missed out on a podium by 0.249 of a second.
It was amazing. I saw them in the background as Martin took the win. I couldn't see Collard's car. I thought he'd gone off somewhere. He was behind the BMW. He was alongside, but Ferguson did a mega job with his defence and just blocked the run.
And here is another car that had a penalty hovering over it, 32, Sasha Kakat, ending up in 14th place. I'm trying to remember if and when we've ever had a car and a driver combination take 4 wins in 6 races in British GT. For all that it's ultra competitive, for all that we've got a stellar entry and winning is not easy, what Mitchell and Martin are doing is very, very impressive, and it's pretty much unprecedented.
Creating serial winners in the car there. Alex Martin will be loving this GTC. Driving cool cars. Charles Hodge there, the engineer, worked with him a few times, top guy, and that's where these teams excel, is recruitment. It's always finding the right guys, making sure you can do it, and getting a good engineer is really, really important.
And there's your Silver AM winner in GT3, Sean Balfe and Adam Smalley. They won outright at Silverstone, and coming home here as category winners, and 6th place overall in the Garage 59 Rand McLaren. GT4, that in the end was won.
Mustang in front of him again.
Yeah, was won by Jack Brown and Zach Meakin. Gets past the Mustang that's sadly stranded trackside. GT4 again giving really, really good racing, but Jack Brown and Zach Meakin coming home ahead of Mikey Porter and Jamie Day. Mark Warren and Will Orton finishing in 3rd spot. Time for a deep breath.
It was amazing. The safety car was good. I just wish it came in 1 lap earlier. I think Rob Collard would agree with me on that one. There you can see the damage I spoke about on the Neri Mercedes. Probably just the splitter has come away. Maybe just a bit of curb. But the Fassetti Astons in GT4, I have to say, super impressed. Yeah. New team this year. Yes, they took over from R Racing last year, but they were a new team last year as well. So I think the Aston Martin GT4 looks like a great car to be driving around at the moment.
We also have the Tim Docker, Charles Dawson and Rob Collard incident under investigation, but I'm not entirely sure there was very much that Rob could have done to avoid contact there. However, the ever so provisional result looks like this. Alex Martin and Sandy Mitchell under investigation. Anyway, they're the winners from Maxi Goetz and Kevin Say, under investigation. John Ferguson and Max Hesser 3rd. The Collards are 4th, ahead of Tom Gamble and Mark Radcliffe. Sean Balfe and Adam Smalley come home in 6th. GT4 15th overall, the winners. Jack Brown and Zach Meakin, Jamie Day and Mikey Porter 2nd, Mark Warren and Will Orton 3rd. They win Pro-Am within GT4 and Silver Am within GT3 to Sean Balfe and Adam Smalley. The story is going to rumble on. There are so many things under investigation. I might need to point you to the British GT website or its social media accounts for the updates as the evening wears on. The race director and the stewards have quite a lot to get through, so what you've just seen has made a lively race and a very provisional result.
Yeah, and anyone that's here at Snetterton, if you want to get home for football, I think Southgate's going to be the quickest exit out of here. So all the officials, I think, will want to be done by 8 o'clock this evening, won't they? It's going to be interesting to see how they handle that, because I know I am out of here ASAP.
To go and cheer on Spain, you mean? Yeah. Right, so there, the winning car, provisionally the winning car. As I say, there's quite a lot to unravel at the end of all of that. Phil Keane and John Minshaw did take 4 wins across 7 races back in 2017, although they didn't win the championship. So 4 out of 7 has been done. 4 out of 6 is pretty impressive, to say the very least. And that's not to say they won't win more before the end of the season. We've got Brands Hatch and Donington in the reverse order this year to come. The Donington decider is becoming the Battle of Brands, or the Brands Hatch Battle, or the Brands Hatch Heist, if it's going to be snaffled away from another team at the last knockings of the championship season. The hashtag is still to be confirmed. Alex Martin then helmet off. That's Kevin Say, Spa winner last time out. And a very effective GT racer. We've seen him in World Challenge Europe, World Challenge Asia. Maxi Goetz goes across to talk to his co-driver. And Alex Martin can celebrate a race win, a provisional race win though, Bryn.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it, David? It is a provisional race win. Alex, it's been a good day for you with what happened earlier on. This one's now pending an investigation, which I don't know how much you know about that one, but all in a day's work, right?
I don't know anything about an investigation, but I guess they don't want to distract me while I'm driving. Yeah, there was a bit of a stress moment, obviously, when the Merc pushed back in front of us, and we had to stop in the pit lane. But they calmed me down. They were like, "Don't panic," and yeah.
Let me speak to Sandy very quickly about this, because I mean, Alex doesn't know or didn't know until this moment. Now there is a pending investigation there. What are your thoughts from this moment?
Yeah, it's not really something that I know a lot about. Obviously, we were, you know, a lot of cars were going through GT4 traffic, I think, just as the safety car was called. So, you know, whether we were alongside a car or something or out of position, we'll have to see. But yeah, hopefully it's nothing major, because obviously everyone kind of slowed down as soon as the safety car came out, and there was nothing unsafe that happened. So yeah, hopefully it's just something that they need to just clear up, and yeah, we can keep the win.
I know you're a wise old owl and you got your arguments in straight away there, but go and enjoy this for the moment, and well done for the day no matter what. Cheers, well done, both. Back to you, David.
Bryn, thanks very much. Sandy Mitchell knows the score of GT racing, and it is one of those things. I mean, yes, if you slow down and somebody slows down not to the same pace, it is going to distort the order. I don't think really anything was untoward in the end, but the race control team will have a look. Sandy Mitchell and Alex Martin then increase that championship lead over the Collards, which is not what Ricky and Rob wanted, but it is the net result. In GT4, a win for Zach Meakin and Jack Brown, who's with Bryn.
Yeah, he is. He's distracted because he's looking around trying to find his teammate. But for you, Jack, this is what you needed as a partnership to get back in the points, back on the podium, and get the championship back on track.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and you know, we needed this. You know, we needed to win this race. Race 2 at Snetterton today. Race 1 was a very painful race, getting stuck behind the Mustangs. Just so tricky to race them. But you know, we had a great start today. Zach did an amazing job. The safety cars was you know, scaring me a bit at the end. I wasn't sure whether or not we were going to finish the race or not. So, you know, luckily that all came in and we got the job done.
Tricky thing for you now, of course, is when you get a win, you now get to take maximum penalties going into the next one at Donington Park.
Yeah, no, Donington's next, but you know, I mean, we're pretty good at Donington, I think. You know, it's certainly one of my strongest tracks, so I think we'll be all right for Donny.
Well, Zach's just joined the party as well. So, Zach, your thoughts, your final thoughts there on the victory?
Mega victory. We definitely deserve something with the front, and also the McLaren, when it's in its own clean air, it just pops off like I did in the beginning part. Jack did a mega job, mega overtakes, especially the one at the end round the outside. Best thing I could have asked for.
Well done, both. I tell you what, thanks, guys. This, David, just very quickly, it's a very subdued atmosphere here. Normally they get out of the car and there's all shouting and cheering and stuff. It feels very, very low-key. Hopefully it'll pick up on the podium, but back to you for now.
Yeah, it is slightly strange, isn't it? So many investigations going on. And we've got a champion crown as well. We understand GT3 Silver Am, Adam Smalley and Sean Bell can't be caught. So that's one box tick. This is how we look in GT4. Zach Meakin and Jack Brown are ahead now by a pretty negligible margin from Jamie Day and Mikey Porter. Will Orton and Mark Warren are currently third with the Donington event at the start of September, 7th and 8th, as the next stop for the championship. And then Brands Hatch is going to be where we finish British GT. It's the regular closing venue for British touring cars this year for British GT as well, just the way that the calendar has fallen, and a Donington date wasn't available that late in the season, so it finishes at Brands this year, but back at Donington next year. Next year's GT calendar already announced. The British GT dates are out. It'll start at Donington next year rather than Alton Park. Alton goes to the end of May, but it's going to be a Donington decider next year. Let's look at the highlights then. There were plenty of them from race 2. good start by Sandy Mitchell. Rob Collard's car with Rookie at the wheel getting involved in dramas at turn 1 as he tried to scrabble through and then getting roughed up a little bit on the outside line. He in turn 4 back at turn 3. GT4 in the background being led away by Zach Meakin. But Sandy Mitchell built the lead. The GT4 fight was a really good one on the opening lap, but sadly Charlie Robertson, the race 1 winner, had this drama coming into turn 12 and took Freddie Tomlinson out of the race. There was a drive-through penalty for Ian Loggy after the Mercedes was pushed back right into the way of the number 78 Lamborghini. It took the lead as a consequence of that, but for an unsafe release, not surprisingly, a drive-through penalty came. An overheating Toyota triggered a late race safety car period as the Speedworks Motorsport Run car sadly had to retire from the race, and that bunched up the field. The cars got away with on the restart, Alex Martin being able to build the lead again, and Jack Brown going around the outside of Tim Docker for a GT4 lead. But sadly the Audi wouldn't get to the end, because here, as the car slowly came out of turn 4, it moved slightly left, clipped the Lamborghini of Collard, then clipped the Dawson Morris Mercedes. Rob Collard eventually being able to get himself around the outside of Bart Radcliffe for one of the moves of the race. It was a very, very brave effort, and it put Rob Collard up into 4th as Alex Martin and Sandy Mitchell took a 4th win of the season. And a 4th win in 6 races is quite something in the ultra-competitive world of British GT. So this is how Silver Am looks, with Sean Balfe and Adam Smalley then as the provisional champions. They can't be caught by the Nearies, nor by, of course, Sasha Kakad and Hugo Cook. So an outright race win as well, rounding out a great season for GT, don't we call him veteran? Certainly maestro Sean Balfe. And Adam Smalley in his first year of GT racing, and he's really taken to it, not only racing in the British, but also in the Endurance Cup in World Challenge Europe as well. So to the podium we go. There, Max Hesser and John Ferguson, Maxi Götz and Kevin Say have arrived, and then the outright winners of Sandy Mitchell and Alex Martin make their way to the top step. They know exactly how to treat all of this. Win number 4 out of 6 races is quite something, and although there are these investigations still to filter through the system, for now, Alex Martin and Sandy Mitchell are race winners at Snetterton. The trophies from Jonathan Wells of Pirelli, and a great effort by Sandy Mitchell, by Alex Martin, who hold the trophies aloft. And after 2 dramatic races at Snetterton, we look forward to more British GT action before the end of the season. The second weekend of September, 7th and 8th, will be at Donington. We'll see you then. From Bryn Lucas, Joe Osborne and David Addison, goodbye for now.